All right, so welcome to this deep dive. We're really going deep on this one, diving into some fascinating English language stuff.
Yeah.
You provided two sources for this.
Yes.
The first one is Advanced English, Idioms, Slang, and Cultural Context.
Okay.
And the second is a video called Daily Native British English Phrases. And
Wonderful.
yeah, we're going to unlock, I think, the secrets to fluent English, specifically in British settings.
That's right. Yeah.
We're going to go way beyond, the textbook definitions of words and really understand how native speakers use them
I love this.
in everyday conversation.
It's a great idea.
So yeah, are you ready to dive in?
I am. What I find so intriguing about these two sources is how well they complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, the book gives us a great structured approach to understanding these idioms.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the video, which has like real world examples and funny anecdotes,
Right.
which really brings those expressions to life.
Yeah.
It's almost like we have a backstage pass into the world of British English.
I love that analogy, a backstage pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we're peeking behind the curtain into how they talk,
Absolutely.
in everyday British life.
Yeah.
Let's start with a phrase that might seem simple on the surface.
Okay.
Take your time.
Yes.
Very common expression, but I think it reveals quite a bit about British culture.
Yeah. What's fascinating to me about Take Your Time is that it kind of subtly navigates those anxieties that the British have around time and imposition.
Yeah.
So it's not simply about allowing somebody to proceed slowly. It's reassuring them that they're not inconveniencing you in any way.
Right.
And so, for example, in the video, the host uses this phrase to put a student at ease
Okay.
who was worried about being late.
Mm.
So it kind of acknowledges in a subtle way that potential for awkwardness.
Right.
That social awkwardness. Yeah.
That's such a great observation.
Yeah.
I've always thought about take your time as just being a polite way to say, like, don't rush. But I see what you mean, that it goes beyond that. It's like a verbal cushion
Absolutely.
to soften the blow of like time constraints,
Yeah.
in a social situation.
Exactly. So it speaks volumes about this British emphasis on creating a comfortable and harmonious social environment,
Mm-hmm.
which is so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is a phrase that I think everyone can relate to. In one ear and out the other.
Oh, yes.
It's that classic experience when you hear information, but it just doesn't stick.
Yes.
The video has this hilarious example
Yeah.
where the host is talking about her father trying to explain how a car engine works.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's totally when in one ear, not the other.
And the anecdote perfectly captures the essence of this phrase.
Yeah.
It's not just about forgetting the information, is it? It's that feeling of mental disconnect where the information just fails to register.
Right.
And I think in today's world,
Right.
with this constant bombardment of information, we've all experienced that, where it's almost like our brains are rejecting the input.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, I know I've been there. Like, I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the information is just like washing over me. It's not even like sinking in.
Exactly.
It's like our brains have this spam filter and it's filtering out stuff.
Right.
That might actually be important.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, how can we become more mindful of our own engagement and attention,
Yeah.
especially in a world where we're constantly inundated?
That's the question for the ages, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have an answer for that right now,
No.
but maybe that's a deep dive for another time.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to a phrase that's all about predicting outcomes at this rate.
At this rate. Now, this phrase goes beyond simple prediction.
Okay.
It's often infused with like humor or drama.
Right.
Or even a hint of warning. Do you remember that story about the flooded pub car park?
Oh, yeah.
And the host's father says, "At this rate, we'll have to swim home."
Yeah.
So it really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Creates a very vivid image.
I can just imagine like the water's rising around their ankles. It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a playful way of acknowledging a trend while simultaneously highlighting its potential consequences.
that's right.
I think it's a really clever phrase. And just think about how versatile it is as well.
Yeah,
You can use it to talk about anything from, rising inflation to your ever growing to do list.
right.
It adds a touch of personality and color to observations.
Yeah.
For example, you could say, at this rate, I'll never finish this project. Or at
Mhm.
this rate, self driving cars will be the norm.
Totally. Yeah, I love how you've connected that to, like, things that everyone, experiences.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears to a phrase that's all about positive outcomes. A win-win situation.
Yeah.
I feel like we hear that a lot, especially
Yeah.
in business, but I think it applies
Yeah.
to everyday life too.
Absolutely. I mean, win-win situation, it's about more than just dividing resources equally, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about finding those creative solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Yeah.
And I think the example in the video about the London office with
Yeah.
the leisure facilities,
Right?
it's a great illustration of this concept.
Huh?
It might seem counterintuitive, but providing employees with those opportunities to relax and recharge,
Right?
it can actually lead to increased productivity
Sure.
and a happier workforce.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, really.
It's a reminder that sometimes, like, the best solutions, they kinda challenge, like, our conventional way of thinking.
Yeah,
Instead of, like, this zero-sum game, like, I win, you lose,
that's right. Yeah,
we're trying to find a way where everyone benefits.
absolutely. It's about creating value for everyone. I wonder if you can recall any win win situations from your own life. Maybe a collaboration
Yeah?
that yielded surprising results,
Yeah.
or a negotiation that led to a mutually beneficial outcome.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I'm sure we've all had those, like, situations that seemed like a challenge at first,
Yes.
and then they transformed into this opportunity where everyone kind of benefited.
Yeah.
Like finding the sweet spot where individual goals and the greater good kind of align.
They come together.
Yeah, exactly. But let's move on to a phrase that touches on a completely different aspect of being human. It's meant to be.
Ah, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Now, this delves into the realm of fate and destiny, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests that some things are simply preordained.
Right.
And in the video, the host shares this heartwarming story about meeting her partner.
Okay.
And she describes it as a series of serendipitous events
Uh,
that felt almost orchestrated by fate.
wow. I'm curious though, do you really believe that some things are meant to be?
Hmm.
Or is it just a way of making sense of, like, the unpredictable turns that life takes?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm totally sold on the whole destiny thing, but I can see how it would be comforting,
Sure.
especially when you're dealing with difficult situations.
That's a great question. And it's one that has been pondered by philosophers
Yeah.
and theologians for centuries, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Perhaps it's not about a predetermined plan, but rather about being open to those possibilities
Okay.
and recognizing the interconnectedness of events. And
Um,
so maybe sometimes we need to let go of our need for control
yeah.
and allow ourselves to be guided by that flow of life.
That's a beautiful way to put it, like acknowledging that there's this bigger picture that we
Yes.
can't fully grasp.
Yeah.
But for now, let's explore another phrase that encourages us to kind of embrace that uncertainty, wait and
Wait
see.
and see. Wait and see. It just embodies a sense of patience, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And acceptance in the face of uncertain outcomes. And the video shares a really poignant anecdote
Okay.
about an injured chicken
Oh,
on the host's relative's farm.
okay.
And they had to wait and see if the chicken would recover. So it kind of highlights that wisdom, doesn't it, of observing
Yeah.
and allowing those events to unfold naturally, especially when you're dealing with things that are beyond your control.
That's a great example. Like, it's saying, okay, sometimes the best thing to do is just to like surrender to the unknown
Yes,
and just trust that things will work out in their own time.
exactly.
Do you think that's a particularly British sentiment, this wait and see?
It's interesting, isn't it? I wouldn't say it's exclusive to British culture,
Right.
but it certainly aligns with that British tendency towards stoicism
Uh huh.
and that pragmatic approach to problem solving.
I see what you mean. There's a certain wisdom in it,
Yes,
like acknowledging that we don't always have the answers
that's right.
and that sometimes the best way forward is to just observe and adapt as you go.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between action and acceptance,
Right.
knowing when to intervene
Yeah.
and when to simply let things run their course.
Speaking of finding balance, let's move on to a pair of phrases that address those worries
Okay.
and decisions. Think something over and put your mind at rest.
Yes, these phrases beautifully illustrate that interplay, don't they, between logic and emotion
Yeah.
in the decision making process.
Okay.
So, think something over. It really encourages careful deliberation,
Right.
weighing those pros and cons before reaching a decision.
Yeah.
And the video host uses a great example.
Oh, yeah.
She talks about needing time to consider a proposal.
Uh-huh.
So, emphasizing the importance of thoughtful consideration when you're making those big life choices.
Right. It's acknowledging that decision making can be complex.
Yes,
And some choices, you need more than just your gut feeling.
absolutely.
You really have to think things through.
Yes. And then we have put your mind at rest,
Okay.
which provides reassurance and alleviates anxiety. It's like
Hmm.
saying, don't worry, everything will be all right,
Yeah.
offering comfort and support amidst uncertainty.
Yeah. I love how those two phrases complement each other.
Yeah.
One is like the rational side of decision making,
Yes,
and the other one is acknowledging that there's also this emotional component.
absolutely.
In a way, it's like this holistic approach to, you know, those challenges that we face.
Exactly. They highlight the importance of both careful consideration and that emotional well being,
Right.
recognizing that decisions are rarely made in a purely logical vacuum.
That's right. Now let's transition to a phrase that's got this almost like mystical feel to it. The stars aligned.
Oh, the stars align.
It's similar to it's meant to be
Yes.
in that it suggests that some events are just destined to happen,
Yeah.
but this one emphasizes like a perfect convergence of circumstances.
You're right. There is a sense of cosmic orchestration, isn't there? Implied in the stars align.
Right.
Like some higher power or unseen force has brought about this particular outcome. And
Yeah.
the video uses a good example here. They talk about a chance encounter that led to a life changing opportunity,
Wow.
highlighting the role of serendipity and timing in shaping those destinies.
That's a really captivating thought
Yeah.
that sometimes, the universe conspires to bring about certain events.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, is it always about destiny?
Mm,
Or could it be that sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time
right.
with a little bit of luck thrown in?
That's a great point. Perhaps it's not always about that grand plan,
Yeah.
but rather recognizing and seizing those opportunities
Okay.
that present themselves however they arise.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about being open to the unexpected and allowing ourselves to be guided by intuition and circumstance.
I like that perspective.
Mhm.
It's not so much about, fate being predetermined,
Mhm.
but it's more about the power of individual choice and action within the context of this larger unfolding.
Yeah.
Speaking of unexpected encounters, let's explore the phrase cross paths.
Cross paths.
It really captures those moments, when our lives intersect with others in these surprising ways.
Yeah.
I love how you did that transition, by the way. Very smooth. But yeah, cross paths speaks to that serendipitous nature of human connection.
Absolutely.
The video The host mentions crossing paths with someone at a conference,
Yes.
highlighting how even these fleeting encounters
Mm.
can have a profound impact.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It reminds us that every interaction, no matter how brief, could spark a chain of events
Wow.
that alters the course.
Really makes you wonder
Yeah.
about all the people we've crossed paths with
Hmm.
and how those seemingly insignificant moments might have like shaped our journeys in ways that we don't even realize.
Absolutely. It's a humbling thought. We're all interconnected in ways we may never fully comprehend.
It is humbling, right?
Yeah.
It makes you realize that every encounter,
Yeah.
no matter how fleeting, it's an opportunity, whether it's connection or growth, even just a simple act of kindness.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the interconnectedness of life
Right.
and appreciating those ripple effects
Mm.
of our actions, however small they may seem.
Now, let's shift gears and explore a word that's become super popular lately: aesthetics. Yeah,
Aesthetics. It's about more than just visual appeal, though, isn't it?
right.
It delves into that realm of sensory experience,
Okay,
encompassing the appreciation of beauty and artistry in all its forms.
right.
And the video host, she mentions her love for the aesthetics of cars,
Oh, cool.
highlighting how this word can be applied to those everyday objects
Yeah.
that we find visually pleasing.
Yeah, it's interesting how that word aesthetics has moved beyond art and design.
Yes.
And now it's this broader term for anything that like appeals to our senses
Mhm.
and evokes a sense of beauty or pleasure. It's like we're all becoming more aware of those finer details of our
Yes.
surroundings and appreciating beauty in the everyday.
It speaks to a growing awareness, I think, of the impact our environment has on our well being. We're recognizing that beauty isn't just something to be admired
Right.
in museums or galleries, it's
Mhm.
something that we can cultivate in our own homes, workplaces,
Mhm.
even in the way we dress and present ourselves.
And I think social media plays a big role in that too, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're just constantly seeing these images, and that's heightened our awareness of like visual aesthetics.
Yes, our visual landscape has become increasingly sophisticated, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's influencing those perceptions
Right.
of beauty, style, design.
Yeah, totally. Um, Before we wrap up this section, let's have a little fun with some slang. Juicy details.
Juicy details. That phrase instantly piques your curiosity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You just want to lean in and hear
It's
more.
like, tell me more.
Yeah, juicy details. They're those intriguing bits of information that add spice to a story.
Right.
It's that gossip, that behind the scenes scoop, the things that make a narrative really come alive.
Right. And the video host mentions sharing juicy details about an engagement.
Yes.
So it's often used in like social contexts when you're sharing exciting or surprising news.
Yes,
I
exactly.
feel like it's like the conversational equivalent of like dessert.
Oh, I like that.
Like it's that extra sweetness that
Yeah.
makes a story more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But also, I think juicy details
Hmm.
speaks to our like human desire
Mm-hmm.
for connection
Absolutely.
and shared experiences.
Yeah.
We love hearing about other people's lives.
Yeah.
And those little details make the stories more real and relatable.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding those common threads
Yeah.
that bind us together
Yeah.
and recognizing those shared human experiences
Right.
that transcend cultural boundaries.
So these phrases and words have taken us on this really interesting journey through the nuances of British English.
Ahab.
But I want to go even deeper.
Okay.
Ready to explore some cultural insights
Yes, let's do it.
and connect these phrases to like a broader context.
I think it's amazing how language can give us insights into a culture's values and social norms. It's like this secret code, isn't it?
Yeah.
That reveals how people see the world and
Yeah.
how they interact.
It's like we've been piecing together this puzzle,
Yeah,
cultural puzzle.
exactly.
So, what kind of cultural insights really jumped out at you from these sources?
Well, one of the most prominent things to me is that emphasis on politeness.
Okay.
That consideration, which is so key in British culture.
Right.
Phrases like take your time
Yeah.
or put your mind at rest.
Mm.
They illustrate this communication style
Yeah.
that really prioritizes creating a sense of ease
Right.
and avoiding any potential discomfort
Mhm.
or imposition.
It's like they're really good at, like, this subtle social dance,
Yes.
using language to, like, navigate those awkward moments with
Absolutely.
grace and diplomacy.
Exactly. It's about creating that harmonious atmosphere,
Right.
even in situations where there might be some underlying tension.
Yeah, totally. The sources also touch on how business and everyday life kinda intersect,
Yes.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Phrases like a win-win situation
Yeah.
or keep your options open.
Yeah.
They've, like, migrated, from the boardroom
Mhm.
into our casual conversations.
It's really fascinating. It suggests that we're adopting like a more strategic approach to our personal lives.
Mm. Do you think that's a good thing?
Hmm.
Or is it maybe eroding the boundaries between, work and leisure?
It's a really good question. Perhaps it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
So, on the one hand, it could be seen as this reflection of adaptability
Mhm.
that we can, apply those problem-solving skills to different areas of our lives.
Right.
But then on the other hand, as you said, it could blur those lines
Yeah.
between the professional and the personal,
Yeah.
leading to that sense that we're always on.
It's something to think about. But, before we get, like, too deep into that,
Yeah.
let's go back to a theme that's come up a few times, fate and destiny.
Yes.
So we've got phrases like, "It's meant to be," or "The stars aligned,"
Mm.
and they show this cultural fascination with the idea that some things, well, they're just meant to happen.
I think it speaks to our desire for meaning
Yeah.
and purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's comforting to think that there's a bigger plan,
Yeah.
even if we can't quite understand it.
It's like surrendering to that mystery of life,
Yes.
like acknowledging that there are forces beyond our control
Yeah,
guiding us.
absolutely. And maybe there's a certain wisdom in that surrender,
Yeah.
in learning to trust the unfolding of events
Yeah.
and embrace the unknown.
This has been, well, eye-opening.
It
We
has.
went way beyond those simple
We
definitions
did, yeah.
to uncover those nuances and the hidden depths
Yeah.
of these phrases that we use all the time.
It's been a pleasure exploring these linguistic treasures with you.
Likewise.
It's amazing what we can learn about a culture
Yeah.
just by paying attention to the way people use language.
I encourage everyone to really listen
Yeah.
to the conversations around them.
Yes.
Pay attention to how people use language
Yeah.
to express themselves, to connect with each other,
Absolutely.
to make sense of the world.
And as you continue your own language journey,
Yeah.
keep this in mind. Learning idioms and colloquialisms,
Yeah.
it's not just about expanding your vocabulary.
Right.
It's about gaining a deeper understanding of the heart and soul of a culture.
It's about unlocking those secrets of human connection and
Yes.
discovering how we communicate.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.